never ends. So far it doesn't end. The scientists refer to the Big Bang
yeah,
as when it started, and then it's expanding. We used to know this man who wrote the textbook on quantum mechanics.
yeah,
He studied with Einstein, and he was brilliant. And he described it as a loaf of bread expanding. That the universe is simply an energetic flow.
yeah. But do you still think you're like that you are still there? Yeah, I'm
Ex-
sure that it's gonna be like in like dirt and stuff, you know. But you
here's the
still,
here's the thing about the consciousness that you're talking about. The fact is that if you if you work hard enough at it as a human being,
yeah.
you can attain the consciousness that is not sensation of separation. You can attain consciousness where you realize that consciousness is not limited to you. That what you think of consciousness as yourself is not what it is. It's actually everything, and that you can attain that realization as a human being. It doesn't come easily, and it doesn't actually come naturally because of
So
the.
what is it? What does it come easily? What is supposed to come naturally?
It doesn't come. What doesn't come easily is the realization that the consciousness is everything, and that there is no separate part of it. That it is one thing, expanding, changing, but it's only one thing. There is not a separate. There is not a separate you, there is not a separate me, there is not a separate anything. And human beings are capable of experiencing consciousness in that way.
Yeah.
And when you experience the consciousness in that way, then the fear of dying disappears, because what you are is never going to go away. It's something that is, or it might go,
Sorry.
it might go away actually, but it hasn't gone away yet.
No, I understand it like like how do you say that? Like you as a human being is still there, but it's just like changing. It's not a human being anymore. That makes sense.
It doesn't have the human, it doesn't have the limitations, the self-imposed limitations of the human um, uh, mind. The human being is part of that one thing, but the mind of human beings creates a sensation of separation where they think that they are a separate entity
Yeah. So,
within.
what do you think is gonna happen? Like, as if you die, what do you think? What is gonna happen to?
You don't
Does
think
it
you
stop there, or does it?
No, you don't think. You stop thinking, and it is possible as a human being now to stop thinking and simply be aware of what is. The thinking is what is the problem. The thinking tells you that you are separate, or that that thing is an object that is different from you. And I have been to the place where there is no such thing. And it is attainable by the human being, where you can simply be all of it at one time with no sense of separation, no fear, no anxiety, no flesh boundary. I don't know if that makes any sense, but the thing is that the entire okay. So what happens when you're alive is the same thing that happens when you die. It's just that the typical human thought pattern hides that fact from us, and that nothing goes away when you die, but because the thing that is not what you think it is. It is what it is, regardless of whether you think anything. It doesn't care what you think. It is what it is, regardless of what any human being thinks. And that, again, is attainable. That state of awareness is attainable by the human being. Just it's difficult, and it's because it's not
Yeah,
necessarily
but
practical.
I still don't sure. I'm not sure what you think is gonna happen then. So what if you end up in
I'll,
there?
I'll tell you what's
You
gonna.
still
I'll tell you what's gonna happen.
Yeah.
the state of consciousness that I have been lucky enough to experience,
Yeah.
which is consciousness of all being simultaneously, is going to continue, and my sense of self as a glob of flesh that becomes earth, that becomes a plant, that gets eaten, becomes another human being, that is irrelevant to the consciousness. That's just an ongoing process, and the consciousness is pure and infinite, regardless of what any human being thinks about it. It just is infinite, and our sense that we are separate from it is not so. So that when you die, you just go to that place that I have been to, which is pure. There is no thought, there is no worry, there is no
How do
fear.
you know that's the same place as when you die then?
Because it is the it is so without it's hard to explain it. It just it because it's the same as now. It doesn't change. That's how you know. It doesn't change. It's always the one thing. There's only the one thing, and it just doesn't change. You may think it changes, but the thought is not what it is. It doesn't change. And if you so the
So
same
what keeps them from living and not dying then?
what
Why do we want to live then?
because it's joyful, and it never stops. You'll continue to live. It just change. You'll just change. The living is infinite. Nothing. I mean, I think that the scientists say that matter and energy are indestructible. You cannot. It does not go away. It just is constantly changing. It's constantly transforming. It's growing. It's going this. It's doing that. It becomes this. It becomes that. Again, I mean, the tofu that I ate for dinner, for lunch, is talking to you now. And it never ends. It changes. It constantly changes, but it never ends. So far. It could end, but so far it hasn't. And the idea is to not grasp onto the particular, aspect of it that I define as myself. There's no such thing. The whole thing is one thing. There is not, I don't exist as a separate entity. I am part of one big thing. And the reason that you know it is because you experience it in this form, as well as in the form where there is no body and you've so-called died. It's because you can just go there. I'm gonna have to charge you for this though.
Really?
Yeah, you're gonna have to send me a space cake.
If I could, I would.
What?
If I could, I would.
You could? If you could, why couldn't you?
Should I send one? It's probably interesting to see.
No, I have enough.